As soon as we arrived in human space, things started to go wrong. Small things, tiny things, imperceptible things. A computer terminal running half a second slower for no reason. A gun turret randomly leaving its mounting and hanging off the side of the ship by its umbilical and power cables. Quickly fixed, but strange. And socks? For some reason, socks keep going missing, then mysteriously reappearing again sometime later. These humans were the talk of the town because of their absurd weapons technology, but something about them seemed off. We carefully docked to the local starbase, operating a bit slower than usual, owing to the odd occurrences happening around our ship. We gently thudded as we docked, then scrambled to do a full system check. Everything seemed fine, though. Strangely enough, I got out of my seat and walked towards the docking port for my job. Diplomacy. Only to stop in my tracks when the door got caught and failed to cycle properly. "Oh, for the Emperor's sake! Maintenance! The airlock door is stuck!" I yelled, and banged at it to release it. My percussive maintenance, as humans called it, worked. Surprisingly. Again. The door closed, cycled normally, and opened again. My engineers, already overworked as it was, quickly surrounded the door, only to find nothing wrong with it. We've been suffering these odd annoyances every now and then since we entered human space. The priests and seers were going insane, claiming they were seeing shadows. Rodents, maybe? Vermin? I shook my head and left the ship, meeting with the human diplomatic corps on the station. My god, what a long trip, I idly thought to myself. "Trouble, Master Gargaris?" The human diplomat, Todd, said as he held out his hand in greeting. "No, just odd occurrences. No issue during transit, just strangeness." I shook his hand in greeting. "Care to explain?" he asked. "It's not important. Probably poor construction at the dockyard that wasn't inspected properly. We will sort it out," I said. "Ow! Fragafran!" came a noise from the airlock, followed by an angered slam. "Uh-oh. Your dudes seem a bit preoccupied. Think you need reinforcements at all? We got a few engineers to spare. Maybe they can help," he said. Before I could voice an opinion, he let out a shrill noise from his lips, what the humans called a whistle, and a dozen human engineers and service technicians immediately swarmed into the ship. "Well, thank you. I think it may allow my own men to rest. We haven't had any time to relax since we entered your space." I walked with him to the office we would share for the next week. "So, to business first, or would you like some tea?" he asked, as I sat in my seat. "Tea, obviously," I replied with a smile. A half an hour, and a lovely cup of tea later, we had finalized some service contracts for fuel stations on our outer rim, when a human engineer walked in, carrying something. He had it hidden in the palm of his hand, covered by an odd cloth or something. "Found the problem," he gleefully said, with the oddest, cheeky smile I had ever seen. "Problem? Oh, those mechanical issues. What was it? Faulty circuit?" I asked. "Angus," he said. I remained quiet for what seemed an eternity. What?" "Angus," he said, and lifted the cloth off the object in his hand. There, standing tall, was a small creature around 1.5 inches tall. It appeared to be wearing an ancient-looking mechanic's uniform, skin-tight and dyed yellow. It had no feet, just 2 tiny little stubs. It appeared to be wearing a pair of bright red leather gloves, a tiny red nose, a row of sharp wolf-like teeth, and bright blue eyes that were covered in some kind of odd mask. Its helmet, made of similar material to its uniform, was dyed a bright blue color. The oddest thing about it, though, was its tail and its horns. The horns jutted out from beside its head, looking like a set of airplane wings, and its tail looked like an aeroplane tail. "Angus, the Gremlin," the engineer said. "What the actual fuck is that?" I squealed and hid behind my desk. "It's a gremlin. Never seen a gremlin before?" he said. "Well, obviously I never have. This thing is what's responsible for all the damage?" I asked, shivering behind my desk. "Yep, go on, Angus, you know what to do, the engineer said. The creature in his hand, its tiny squeaky voice punctuated with the old gruff tone of a grizzled veteran, babbled some incoherent words at me. I sat there, unable to process any of it, and my translator nearly short-circuited, trying to understand it. A few seconds of silence passed. The engineer finally spoke. I take it your translators don't understand Scots Gaelic at all, do they? He asked. Is that another one of your absurdly numbered dialects? I asked, finally coming up from under my desk. Yeah, I speak it. I'll translate. He says, Dear sir, we apologize for the sabotage we caused to you and your vessel, the engineer said, mocking an accent similar to the creature. I sat there, bewildered. The creature babbled again. The engineer, once again copying the accent, translated, We have repaired all the damage we caused, and optimized your systems as an apology. I stood up and looked at the creature, still bewildered as it babbled another set of incoherent guttural noises and half-phrases. We were not aware of your connection with the Terran Federation, and our operatives have been informed as such. Sorry for the inconvenience, the engineer said. Then both stood there with smiles on their faces. I approached the creature cautiously and studied it. Him for a while. I presented a hand to him. Apology accepted. The engineer spoke with that same guttural pronunciation, and the creature responded by grabbing one of my fingers, shaking it vigorously, hopped off the hand, then vanished into a shadow in the corner as it said another thing. I looked to the engineer for clarification. He said, Cheers, mate! Tiffin time! And said another sorry about the door. What in absolute oblivion is a gremlin? And more importantly, why are they working for you? Why do they sabotage my ship? I asked. A gremlin is a supposedly mythological creature of Gaelic or Scottish origin, which is a subspecies of the creature known as a blonde, brownie, or house elf. Turns out they ain't mythological creatures, just anomalous entities sharing the same plane of existence. And yes, they do work for us, mostly, the engineer replied. I blinked. I didn't even know I could blink. Okay, so that's a gremlin. And a brownie. Anomalous entities that... What? A gremlin is a creature that is the distant cousin of a brownie, a so-called house elf, and is basically the opposite of a house elf. Gremlins are mechanically inclined creatures that mess with mechanical or electronic devices in an abnormal manner, disassembling engines and removing components. Sometimes it's malicious, sometimes it's playful, sometimes it's just to see what a thing does, Todd said. Well, that explains that, I suppose. What? What? I couldn't really formulate any words. Here's the short story. Years ago, talking about pre-FTL here, one of the United States aircraft carriers was on patrol. They kept having weird mechanical faults on the ship. Random failures, odd short circuits, peculiar failures. Then one day, one of our Spec Ops boys, you know them, the Legionnaires, the engineer said. I shuddered and nearly jumped out of my seat. Oh, yes, I do remember them. The terrifying super soldiers you blasphemed into existence that tore an entire Dacfrarian regiment to pieces in 2 hours. Yes, I do remember them, I said with a shudder. Well, yeah, one of them. He went into one of the engine rooms for an inspection and came back out with one of these guys in his hands. Turns out the blasphemous nature of the Legionnaires disables the creature's ability to teleport and stuff. So, yeah, we captured one of them, the engineer said with a smile. Ah, I see. What happened? What do you usually do with anomalous entities? I asked. The only logical thing we need to do. Try and see if it was searching for stable employment and introduce it to the concept of medical aid and labor unions, Todd replied with a laugh. Okay, I said. And as it turns out, it was. Gremlins don't really have good dental care, you see, same with brownies. As soon as this dude got hit with his first dental appointment he didn't have to pay for, we got 24 of them signing up for service within a week. 5 years later, Gremlins and Brownies were serving in the US Army, as we started sending rockets to Mars. Brownies keep the equipment clean, Gremlins keep it operational. They sabotage the vessels of our enemies too. Within reason, of course, Todd said. Sabotage within reason? How'd you do that? I asked. Small things. Jamming doors, broken consoles, a cable here, a pipe there, just to rattle an array to keep engineers occupied, exhausting them mentally and physically. We have strict orders and agreements with them to never mess with ship reactors or any kind of life support systems. We made that perfectly clear when we started this whole thing, the engineer said in turn. Okay, wait. Firstly, you humans encounter some odd creatures that slip between universes and stuff. Then you offer them dental care, and suddenly they work for you? And these creatures can teleport out into the void of space and sabotage any vessel they encounter. And they work for you? I asked, my voice creaky and breaking from the surprise. The two men stared at each other for a bit, shrugged and said, Well, yeah. I thought for a moment. I shrugged. Meh. Meh? That's all you got? They both said. Well, the Legionnaires, the giant planet cannon you made, then the huge starfleet you guys have that outnumbers us 10-1, then the massive arsenal of nuclear weapons, then the whole finished off the Galivanians in 1 month thing you did. All things considered, taming of a anomalous multi-dimensional entity that screws with machinery and cleans floors, that was pretty tame in comparison, I replied with a shrug. That's fair. I have one question, however. Where can we get a gremlin or two? I asked. Be nice, be polite, and offer dental care and freshly laundered socks. Gremlins are why socks go missing after you put them in the dryer. They like it for some reason, Todd said. I knew it! The engineer yelled and charged out the door. Angus, give me back my ugly Christmas socks. They were a gift from my grandma, he screamed angrily as he charged out into the warehouse. I heard a series of incoherent ramblings coming from a very gross-sounding but tiny voice. Well, that happened, Todd said. Still not the craziest thing you lot have done. Can you give me the translation matrix data for this Scots Gaelic, please? I asked, returning to my desk. Sure. Ancient or modern? He replied.